Hi. I'm sure most of you will agree with me when I say life has unexpected surprises, right? Yeah, well, in my case, those unexpected moments have usually been the result of being, well, not the brightest at times. So, with that revelation of my intelligence, I'm going to tell you three stories, and they're true, and you can judge how bright I am or not after you hear these. The first one. I want to go way back in time, back to when I was 12 years old, and that would have been 1967. I didn't have much experience around farms at that time, but my family knew a farmer in Bridgeport where I grew up, and his name was Bill Pop. And Bill was a kind man and a generous man. He was a good person. His farm was located on the banks of the Cass River, and over the centuries it had been the site of many Native American villages. So Mr. Pop, as he was farming in the fields, found many, many artifacts. And those I would look at whenever we went to his house, and they fired my young imagination. So one day, my dad was going out to Mr. Pop's farm to buy some hay, and I asked if I could please go along. And so he took me, and while him and Mr. Pop visited, I talked them into letting me walk the field so that maybe I could find a few arrowheads myself, which I did not find, but I did learn a very valuable lesson, as you'll see in just a moment. So with Mr. Pop's permission, I struck out on my own, and there were cows in that part of the field, and I headed over in their direction. Well, nature called, and I had to pee, really bad. So, being a guy, you can go most anywhere. And now I remind you that I did not have much experience on farms at all. And I had no clue what the curious buzzing sound was that I was hearing, or what it happened to be from. I looked around to see if anybody was watching, and no one was, so I zipped my pants and aimed at the fence and let go. The next thing I experienced was the most stunning, searing pain in the privates that I had ever felt anywhere in my life, and I was knocked back on my butt. And it was a bit before I got up. Yes, I had peed on an electric fence, and I cannot even begin to tell you how intense that pain was. Now, the next episode is many years later. My first wife, Kathy, and I had decided to buy something that we could have some real fun with on weekends, if we both had them off, or on vacations, because we couldn't really afford to do a lot of traveling. So, we decided on a quad runner. It was a big red quad runner, and its name was Big Red. I wonder how we came up with that. Very original, you have to admit. But we figured we could take and lose ourselves for a while in the amazing Michigan woodlands. So hauling Big Red around in the back of our pickup truck, we did have some fun times together, and also a misadventure or two. And it's one of those problematic outings that I want to tell you about with a little bit with my head hung. It was a warm summer afternoon back about 1988, and there were no cell phones back then, or perhaps the problem we encountered would have been minimized a little bit. And anywho, we loaded up Big Red, headed out Old US 23, turned off on a dirt trail, went down it about a mile, found a place big enough to park the pickup truck, and we did. So we unloaded Big Red and we took off down the trail. And we turned down a lot of even smaller trails, and in the woods got thicker and the light got darker, or dimmer. It wasn't dark, but it got dimmer. And I was doing the driving, of course. It couldn't have been her doing the driving. And I stopped on Big Red at the top of the steep hill with Kathy riding behind me on the quad runner. And down that hill was a very swampy area. I thought, what the hell? This is an all-terrain vehicle. There's no problem going to be going through there. It's not going to have a problem. Well, on the other hand, Kathy questioned the ability of Big Red to make it through, and I didn't like that. I told her to hang on, and I gunned and barreled down the hill, gaining speed, hit the water and the muck, went about 5 feet in from the inertia, and stopped dead. I tried, and there was no getting it out. Kathy showed some wisdom at the time. There was no "I told you so," it would have been later years, I would have been beat into the ground. But situation reversed, I am sure I would not have been as kind about it. And we decided one of us would stay with Big Red and the other one go get the truck and back it down and pull the mired quad runner to safety. I felt it would be safer for Kathy to go with the truck because I thought there might be bear in the swamp, so I would stay and wait. Now, in retrospect, it might have been a good idea to put something on her that would have attracted the bears, but at the time we were still in love. So, anyways, sorry. We had no kids, and I was concerned about her safety. So off my intrepid wife trudged, and I sat down there on the soft ground waiting, swatting away at the cloud of mosquitoes and lamenting my poor judgment. And I waited and waited and waited. And all the time getting more worried about her. Not getting annoyed at waiting, but getting worried. Maybe 90 minutes or so later, I spotted the truck. Kathy was backing it down the hill very carefully, and at the base of the hill, she looked out the window and asked me to guide her to the right spot. Well, Macho Man kicked in, and I told her to get out of the truck so she could guide me because I could do it better. Big, big, big mistake. Watching the mirrors, I slowly backed down, and Kathy gave really very good directions, actually. And, but guess what? My foot slipped off the gas, or slipped and hit the gas pedal, and it went down, and then you guessed it. The rear of the truck plunged into the muck and was hopelessly mired. Well, at least Big Red had company in there. So Kathy was very patient back in those days. And there was no condemnation, not even a derogatory look. And this time, since Kathy would be safe in the truck, we decided I would walk back out to the main road and try to flag help down. With my luck that day, it's a wonder I didn't get eaten by a bear. I had a blue jean jacket on, and by the time I got to the main road, I was quite warm. And so I stripped it off and tossed it over my shoulder. And a number of cars went by, totally ignoring me as I tried to hail them, and I was getting a little hot under the collar. A pickup truck came ambling along, and like all the others, passed me by. That was it. I had it. I threw my jacket on the road, and I stomped on it. And the taillights on the truck lit up, and they backed slowly up to where I was standing. And the passenger window rolled down a crack, and then an elderly man asked me, "Your jacket piss you off or something, or do you need help?" I explained what happened, and it turned out the driver had a farm not far away. And he left, but soon returned with a tractor, and before I knew it, had both Big Red and the truck unstuck, and Kathy and I were on our way. He refused any payment, and we gave him our thanks and left, never to revisit that swamp again. Now, lastly, I don't know. Back in 1989, I began working for the Alcona County Review, a weekly newspaper in Harrisville, Michigan. And Harrisville is a rustic community that hugs Lake Huron shore. It's a wonderful place to be with a lot of awesome people, a few pricks, but there's a lot of really nice people. And it was an idyllic place to work. The editor gave me a lot of outdoor assignments because he knew that I loved the woods, and he was kind of chunky, and even a light expedition turned him red and panting. So my assignment was to go to the newspaper's editor, Jerry Stahl, wrote about what happened. So let me quote. Well, I'm not going to quote from the top head. I'm just going to tell it to you without looking at any stupid notes, okay? He sent me on an assignment to Nedwagon State Park. Now, at that time, I had a small motorcycle, and I loved it. It was awesome. And I decided I was going to take the motorcycle up there, and so it was a hot summer day again, and I grabbed my camera bag and some, paper and pens and stuff, and headed up there. Well, after I was done, I had spent probably a couple hours back in the woods there doing pictures and taking notes, I think it was something at the time about whether or not to open up camping in the park, because it's considered a rustic state park and you can't camp there. But anyways, on my way back, I was going down the dirt road, which comes to a real sandy area, and then beyond that sandy area is a cemetery. And what possessed me, I don't know, but I decided there was a sandhill, and I decided I was going to go down the sandhill. I should know better than to go down hills with that experience I had just told you about. But I decided I was going to go down that sandy hill. So I went barreling down the sandy hill on that little motorcycle, and I flipped that son of a gun, and I jumped off, and it rolled over and over and over down the hill. Well, when I got up, first thing I did was just look around and see if anybody was there and saw me. Nobody did, thank God. So I got up, walked down, set the motorcycle upright, got on it, tried to start it. Nothing. I probably about 20 minutes I tried to start it. Nothing. So it was a really freaking hot day that day. And so I started pushing. I pushed the motorcycle up the hill, back to the trail, all the way down the trail, back to the paved road. I can't think of the name of the road, but it leads into Black River. And the other way it leads to US 23. Got up to that road, and I was exhausted. I was drenched in sweat. I felt like I was going to pass out, but it was a little bit easier pushing it on the cement road. But I saw somebody, an elderly man again, sitting out on his front porch, and he could tell I was having problems, and he motioned me on up there, so I pushed my motorcycle on up there, and he asked me what the problem was, and I told him what had happened. He said, "Let me get you a glass of really cold lemonade, and then we'll talk." So he went in, and he got me a lemonade, and oh man, that tasted so good that day. He said, "Let's go over and look at your motorcycle. Maybe it's just out of gas." So he opened up the tank. No, it was full. He said, "Well, your kill switch is off." He said, "Didn't you turn it on?" I said, "Kill switch?" He said, "Yeah, it shuts off just to prevent the gas from, I guess, spilling and causing a fire or something like that." And I said, "I didn't know it had a kill switch." And I didn't. So stupid me pushed that motorcycle in that hot weather, humid weather, miles, only to find out I could have flipped the stupid switch and had it started back up again. Okay, having said that, told you 3 stories, probably my least proud moments in my life. Now you know the kind of person who is behind the Dennis Morrison channel. Hey, thanks for stopping by. If you like this at all, please give me a thumbs up. It helps my channel, helps me. And hey, stay well, stay safe, stay healthy. God bless you, and I love all of you. Thanks for stopping by.